In a world of podcasts, one rises in the night to destroy them all. The elder god in an ocean of noise, the Cthulhu of the airwaves. This is Spoiler Country.
All right, everybody, welcome again to another episode of Spoiler Country. Today on the show, we have a treat for you guys. We have my buddy Dan Price, we have my buddy Drew Edwards, and we have Paolo J. Hernandez. And these guys have a book coming up on Indiegogo, and it is Halloween Man meets Latex Avenger. So two great tastes come together. We got the peanut butter of Halloween Man and the chocolate of Latex Avenger, and we're getting the peanut butter in the chocolate. How did that happen?
I nagged Dan and tell I broke down his defense. I really like the Latex Avenger. I like absurdity. You know, I'm a big fan of the Tick. I'm a big fan of Flaming Carrot, and I feel like the Latex Avenger is, you know, he's from that evolutionary line in comics.
He's like the Tick with the boner. Yes,
exactly.
Like, in that same, like a very horny Tick.
Yes, and so so way back several years ago, this is back when I still had a day job. I used to work for Boar's Head, the deli meat company. And,
nice.
And I was refilling a deli case at a grocery chain here in Austin, and I saw Dan with this kid out of the corner of my eye, and I you know, maybe it's just because I was bored at work or whatever, but I was like, hey man, let's do a crossover. And I think I've said this on every interview that we've done recently. I've said I don't think Dan knew how serious I was until I started sending him script pages.
So you were in it to win it from the get-go.
Oh, I pursued this. You know, I think Dan, you know, wasn't really, correct me if I'm wrong if I'm not getting the timeline right, but you weren't really thinking about comics when I started nagging you about this.
No, I had, I'd done a run of comics from 2007 to 2014. And, you know, Latex Avenger, Masters of the Obvious, and Excelsior, The Uphill Adventures of a Boy Named Stanley. And after all of that, I was exhausted. My girlfriend had just become my wife. There was a family to raise. And unfortunately, something sad had happened, which was my artist, creative partner, and little brother, so to speak, passed away. His name was Bonadami. He's a great guy, and miss him every day. So I had, you know, copped a walk, so to speak. You know, I had dipped from comics and really wasn't doing much, but I had taught myself how to draw digitally with a mouse. I can't believe I was drawing with a mouse. I mean, all that stuff that you and I were working on, Drew, was with the mouse. And I drew I was just drawing for fun on Instagram, and that was about it. And I was sending Drew drawings, actually. I was sending you stuff every once in a while, like, hey, look at this, critique it, whatever. And that's when we started talking about this crossover. Like, for real, like he'd mentioned it in the grocery store, and we talked about it a little bit. But yeah, he's sending me script pages, and then and it was a cool writing process too, because he wrote the plot. You know, he wrote the script and basically said, okay, now take an eraser to the Latex Avenger and spermicidal foam lad parts, and then write the same messaging in, you know, the same story in their speak. And that was really my contribution to the script, was just really scripting those characters. And damn, it's funny because it's like the Drew's, the vernacular for his characters versus how my guys act. It's hilarious. And it's just like Drew's mentioned on other podcasts, it's oil and water in the funniest, best way possible, in the worst way possible. And it's pretty great. So
there was a mutual respect between you guys for a while. How long had you known each other?
Ooh,
how long was Dan the cute girl on the other side of the room that you wanted to get?
No, I think at that point, I think I had known Dan for again, I hope I'm getting the timeline right. 7 years?
Yeah, 6-7 years at that point. We've been friends. Yeah, the three of us have all been friends now for about 10 years. So, or at least known each other, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, and then over time, we've all become, especially since about 2018, for sure, I would say 2017, 2018, we've really all started hanging out and doing things and working on stuff. So it's, you know, hanging out with your buddies, you know, they live 15 minutes down the road from me. You know what I mean?
You're all Austinites, correct?
Yeah, we're all Austinites.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Like, so Austin apparently has a really good indie comic scene. Lynn, you know, same thing. You throw a rock and you hit an indie comics guy. Where I live, like Birmingham, like it is a void of. So I'm always jealous when I talk to people from cities that have that scene. How instrumental is it for you guys, you know, when it comes to doing what you do? Is it easier to get those stories out and have that community because you have that community there?
Community is extremely important. And you know, the thing about Austin is it's a big old small town. Like everybody knows everybody. Like even the sort of overinflated, you know, ever growing version of Austin, people still seem to create communities within the city. And, you know, like Dan was saying, like that's sort of what we've done. Like there is, of course, the larger network of comic book creators, but like we've created our own little group within the group that, you know, we work with each other, we support each other, you know, we go to barbecues with each other. You know, it's a nice feeling, you know, to have that, because, you know, a lot of the times when you're creating, especially small press comics, you don't get that instantaneous feedback or support. So that to have, you know, these guys that I can talk to, it's a fabulous resource and, you know, a wonderful, warm, fuzzy feeling.
You know, because I mean, there's the three of us, and then there's another gentleman, Shane Campos, and another dude, Jeremy Martinez, aka Jeremy the Artist, aka the love of Paulo's life. And the you know, it's the five of us. You know, we tend to just kind of gel really well with each other. You know, and it's fantastic. I mean, it really is, and really grateful for this group of friends. Yeah, really happy that we get to work together.
We did do some mild hazing on Paulo.
Yeah. Oh, really? How was that?
I'm still recovering, man. I'm walking a little sideways, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
It reminds me of when I was in my fraternity days in college. We were going to make Paulo do bat spins in the parking lot. So anyway.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yeah, exactly. Chug a beer, run around, spin around a baseball bat, run back, chug another beer, spin around. Yeah, anyway, we won't do that to you, Paulo. We like you. Paulo's great. Met Paulo at a 24-hour comic day, so many years ago. I mean, have you ever done a 24? You know, y'all have heard of 24-hour comic day, and we were out there gutting it out, 24 pages in 24 hours, and he's a beast, man. Lies my motherboard told me that was Paulo's first book out, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. That was
great.
That was my first book.
Yeah,
it was good. It was fun.
So you guys met. You guys have all known each other for a while. Do you guys ever play like 7 Degrees to Kevin or to Alex Jones?
Jones?
You ever think like maybe one of your like weirder storylines might be like, oh, he just read the title of this Halloween book, and
I actually do know somebody that is tangentially related to Alex Jones, and he's told me some not so surprising stuff, but some stuff. So, and I'll just leave it at there so we don't get, you know, slapped with a lawsuit or something.
Yeah. Oh man,
I hear that guy's litigious.
Gosh. Good God, that guy. It used to be funny, and then it's like, this is not funny anymore, dude. You lost your rocker. We're not here to talk about Alex Jones.
Are we though?
I mean,
I want to talk about how the government made the frogs gay,
you have to say it like with as red of a tomato faced as possible. We're making the frogs gay.
He's litigious, so we're gonna have to redact the section of the interview.
The universe
Just a lot
is
of beeps
missing
and stuff.
a really good professional wrestler. Like, he could have done the best intros. Hulk Hogan. Like, what was his name? The guy, the Ultimate
Warrior.
Yes.
Ultimate Warrior.
He has that attitude, except he is batshit. So, and you know, I think it's actually an act. It has to be an act.
According to what I have heard, it is largely an act.
Yeah, it has to be.
He's got to make his money.
Oh yeah.
Times are tough.
Times are tough.
So you guys got together. You started doing this Halloween Man and meets Latex Avenger. But let's get into, like, tell me about Halloween Man to begin with.
So Halloween Man is best described as the weird adventures of a zombie superhero and a sexy mad scientist girlfriend. I always tell people that it's a good mix between it's Fantastic Four meets Evil Dead 2. It's what happens when a 60s,
a lovely combination.
Thank you. It's what happens when a Silver Age comic book and an 80s horror film mash up against each other. It's a Beauty and the Beast story. It's all these things. You know, I've been doing Halloween Man for 22 years, if you can believe that. You know, and it's been a labor of love throughout that. When I first came up with the character, I was actually just like right out of high school. Really? I was 18, and you know, I didn't publish for another few years in there. But the thing that happened with the character is, when I was developing it and when it actually initially started coming out as a webcomic, I'm a twin, and I unfortunately was in a car accident that killed my twin. And as you can imagine, that was incredibly traumatic. And I needed something to get me out of bed every day. I needed something to give me focus. And, you know, Halloween Man became that. Like, it was this thing that I could put my feelings into. It was this thing I could explore my trauma, but in a more, like, shall we say, humorous fashion. And you know, I was able to just make it through my 20s because of doing this comic. Like I often say, like, I wouldn't have made it without this comic. It's been such an important therapeutic tool for me. And you know, and I've been lucky enough to see the universe grow, and you know, people embrace, you know, the character and, you know, other characters in the universe, and you know, get some acclaim for that. You know, like, you know, it was one of those things where I had to really stick it in for, you know, the long haul, because, like, yeah, I know what I just said. I saw that look on your face.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Oh, you did. Dan had that sly look on his face. But you know, comics are a tough business, and if I hadn't had that will to stick with it, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I'm glad that I have stuck with it, because you know, it took 20 years, but I finally started getting some recognition for doing this dang thing. And, you know, I'm happy to be here because this comic saved my life.
That's amazing. I mean, there's so many different ways that people cope over and find ways to deal with trauma. And a lot of the time it's the most unhealthy way possible.
I did do some, and you know, some of that in my 20s as well, but thankfully a lot of it I got out through making comics.
That's amazing, and I'm so glad that you had that outlet, because I mean, all four of us, we are creators. We do stuff that it you know, it expresses things that we're not able to really get out otherwise. If I wasn't writing comics, I'd be doing something. I'd be playing music. I'd be, you know, I don't know, drawing on the wall with my own poop. I don't know, something, because there's just such a heavy burden of not being able to create, and not be able to say nobody has to see what I do. It's just getting it out.
Like you have stories inside that you need to get out to kind of express yourself.
Exactly.
I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. I feel the same way when it comes to like stories that I want to put out there and stuff, like my own projects. But I also get a lot of that from the drawings that I make. Like when I'm drawing somebody else's character, I put a little bit of myself in those characters as well, or in those stories. So I manage a way to put myself in those drawings of the other characters that I draw. So that's why I like drawing Latex Avenger and Halloween Man, is because I put a little bit of myself into them. And so every time I see that comic, that's what I'm going to see, is like, wow, like there's a little bit of me in that comic, you know?
That's awesome. I've always wondered about that, because, you know, art is comics art, especially you're translating what's on the script onto the page. And when you do characters that are, you know, somebody else's concept or whatever, and you're translating that script, how much is what, you know, came from the author, came from the writer, versus, you know, how much was, you know, from your mind, from your heart, from your head onto the page, because it still has to be strained through your talents onto the page.
And that's the thing. Sometimes I'll see a comic where it looks like it was just manufactured and the artist didn't put any heart or their own soul into it. And like, I don't like that. Like, you can tell when somebody is putting their all into that comic and is splashing it on that page. And that's what I really like to do. So I try to put myself into it, because I know that I'll put the passion of my own art into it, you know, as much as the writers have put their passion art in the writing.
That's awesome. So Drew and Dan can't hear us right now. How big of an asshole are these guys when it comes to, I'm joking. How hard are these guys?
They have been on my ass. Oh my God. I can't take either of them. One's lanky and the other one's strong as hell.
I'm sure Dan has that reach.
Dan's got that reach. He's got that Abe Lincoln reach.
Drew's got that muscle.
Drew's got that strength. Yeah.
Like I'm the bigger prick than Drew. Drew's much nicer than I am. I mean, to be honest with you,
you've never seen me fight, Haas. I fight dirty.
No, but in the world of professional business and comics, no, you're much nicer than I am.
That is probably true.
Yeah, Casey knows. I'm a dick, but but Paulo, I often say, this about Paulo and about Casey, like the nicest people in comics. Seriously, they're always smiling, but I know, Drew, if you get him right, he'll just headbutt you and kick you while you're down. So, that's the punk rock in him, right, Drew?
It's clobbering time.
I love it. I love it.
Frown about. We're talking about comics, man.
So, love it.
In your stories, Drew, you have kind of Houston,
Dallas,
Solar City,
Dallas, or where Dallas used to be.
How important is that to the story? Is Solar City the Texas that you want to see?
Well, I think yes and no. I don't know how people would feel about all the monsters running around. I like alternate history stuff. So when I started coming up with the Halloween Man universe, first of all, the name Solar City actually comes from something that when my twin and I were teenagers and we first started coming up with our own superheroes, like you do when you're a comic book nerd, Solar City was the name of the city that we use. So there's some history there. But within the lore of Halloween Man, I like alternate history stuff. And the idea is that because you have all these, characters with superpowers and supernatural abilities and things like that, World War II did actually spill out onto American soil. And one of the things that happened was the DFW area was basically demolished in a fight between Access and allied superhumans, and Solar City was what was built on the top of it. And I wanted to do something that had some design to it, and in particular, I really like what they call ray gun gothic, that sort of future of yesteryear vibe. And giving this sort of alternate history backstory to it was ultimately mostly an excuse to do that. Like I just wanted to throw in everything I like, which that retro sci-fi aspect of it was a big thing to me. And the juxtaposition of that between the sort of retrofuturism and the horror elements, which there's a lot of classic monsters and dinosaurs and zombies and all these sort of more horror, or EC Comics kinds of tropes. So, you take things that are seemingly unalike and smash them up against to each other. I love Texas. Like, so I don't always like what our politicians do, but the actual state itself, I do. I think you'd be hard pressed to meet is someone as proud of being from Texas as I am. But so I don't know if I can fully say it's the Texas that I would like to see, but I guess there is a degree of on some level wish fulfillment.
That's awesome. And I love that you're proud of Texas and you want to put that into your comic, a fictional version of Texas, but it's still there. Like I'm not going to be putting Alabama into any of my comics anytime soon, I don't think.
Well, like Texas has a lot of interesting, texture to it in of itself. It's both southern and southwestern. It's got a lot of different kinds of geography. There's a lot of, lore, either pop cultural or historical, that's fun to play with. And like, I think this is best described. I have a script. It hasn't been drawn yet, but I have a script called Phantom of the Opry. And a buddy of mine named Park Cooper, who is also a writer, he said when he heard the name of that, he was like, if they could do a police lineup of story titles, I would pick that one out as the most Drew Edwards story title because it's got all the things I like associate with you. And that's kind of the thing. I'm trying to, keep it a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll, and a whole lot of pulp insanity.
That's awesome. Can I ask you about Lucy Chaplin?
Sure. Yeah.
So Lucy Chaplin, Dr. Lucy Chaplin, is a character from Halloween Man.
Yes.
And you based her off of someone you love very much. You based her off of your wife. Is it hard to write a character, this ostensibly, based off of your wife and stay true to the story when, she's put in danger or, stuff like that? Is it hard to write her true as a character?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, it's kind of a complex thing because Lucy actually was not initially the Lucy character predates Jamie, believe it or not. Yeah. But when I met her, it was like meeting Lucy. And, because Jamie, here's the thing, like Lucy is this polymath genius who's sort of good at everything. Jamie is good at everything. So is it hard to write? No, actually, I think she's a tremendous resource to me because a lot of her dialogue is stuff that Jamie has said, or if, I'm trying to think of how she will behave, I can refer back to that. Much of her clothing is just stuff that Jamie, I can send artists, pictures of Jamie and be like, draw this. So I actually think in some ways it makes it easier. Does Jamie have her own opinions about things? Yes, absolutely. Like sometimes, she sees dialogue or she sees artwork or she hears about a storyline and she has strong opinions about that. But for overall, I think it's definitely more helpful than a hindrance because, I always have that person that I can observe when I'm looking for inspiration.
That's awesome. And one thing that I've gotten from just seeing you on Twitter, seeing things that you posted on Twitter, you post pictures of your wife often. She has a style. She has an aesthetic, and that's so cool that you've been able to kind of bring that into the comic for Lucy Chaplin. When I mean, it's kind of like a hole in one, because I mean, she has such. For people that don't know, Drew's wife slings the bass. She plays bass in a rockabilly band. Yeah. She plays the upright, badass chick, and she's in the comic. So I think that's so cool. I don't know that I'll be able to put my wife in my comics anytime soon, unless she wants to be turned into a zombie or something. I brought that up to her one day, and she was like, make me a witch, make me a badass witch. I was like, all right, I'll find a way to do that.
You know, I did luck out with Jamie, you know, like I know I'm acutely aware of that. You know, she's very put together, and that's actually one of the things that initially drew me to her, because she was in another band when I met her, a band called Punk Blues Review. They did punk covers of blues songs, and
that's awesome.
I was there to see that band, but I didn't know she was the lead singer. I just started talking to her because she had this like great outfit on. She had like a pencil skirt with like high heels and a green satin blouse, and her hair was up in one of those like Amy Winehouse beehives. And I just thought she seemed like the coolest chick there. And then after a second or two of talking, she gets up on stage and starts doing sound check, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a groupie. And you know, she went back to New York, and we ended up talking on the phone for like 5 hours a day for several months until she moved down here. And you know, it was just this great whirlwind love story that I just was lucky to find the woman of my dreams. Like how many people can say that? I'm just, you know, I'm still smitten with her every day. Like she's just so wonderful.
That's awesome. Was her old band able to turn Texas Flood into like a song less than 20 fucking minutes? Because that is a very long song.
They never did Texas Flood. They did another Stevie Ray Vaughan song, and now I'm blanking on it.
I have a friend that was a DJ in college, and if he ever had to use the bathroom, that would be the one that he'd throw on. He's like, I got time. My pick would be Marquee Moon by Television, if I had to pick, because that song goes on forever. Love it, but oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So let's get into, we kind of talked about your impetus to work with Dan. Was it hard for you guys to mesh like the horror and the comedy? And is there like a sweet spot there?
I'll let Dan take that.
So in the little break, came up with some new questions. So Paulo, where were you on January 6th, 2020?
January 6th, 2020, I was in the bathroom taking a long, greasy shit. Nice. And I remember thinking that this was going to be the end of the world.
Actually, that was 2021.
2021, yeah.
So what were you doing? What were you doing
Totally
the year before that?
that
Still
one.
taking a greasy shit?
Still taking that greasy
really,
shit. Yeah.
really
It was a
long.
real long shit. Very long greasy shit. The amount of toilet paper he used was
It
was just insane.
Astronomical.
He had some Taco Bell the night before.
Yeah.
And
I created the coronavirus, so with that shit. So I apologize for that.
you did it in the world. You blew it all up.
I blew it all up.
Speaking of, like, have you guys been able to, like, how has creating been during all, because it's a crazy time right now for creators, for comic people, for, you know, everybody, but especially people that's part of their creative process involves, you know, bringing their stuff out to other people so they can see it. How has Corona kind of affected how you guys go about your day and how you go about creating and getting stuff done?
Man, I got to be honest with you on that one. This is the most screwed up thing I can possibly say, but you know, you have to. The pandemic was terrible, okay, but you saw a lot of creativity come out of it. Okay, people had time at home. They started thinking, collecting their ideas, and creating things. It, for me personally, this is where I mean, Bigfoot Knows Karate grew out of this, you know what I mean? Out of this mess and got me back into doing comics and stuff like that. So I'm grateful for, the creativity, the time to make connections over Instagram and Twitter and parlay that into, a rather successful Kickstarter. It was the worst of times, but I tried to make the best of the times of the worst of the times. You know what I mean? And
Oh yeah.
so we lost a lot of great folks. A lot of people are sick, and they're not going to come out of it in some cases, but we do the best we can with a bad situation. And I'm glad for the creativity that's happened over the last year and a half, 2 years, whatever it's been. Yeah. So, and now, Bigfoot Knows Karate now, we did that, and now it's, Bigfoot Knows Karate, Casey. And now,
I do.
yeah, and now, coming together with, Drew and Paulo to take, these legacy characters, Halloween Man and, 14, 15-year-old Latex Avenger, and bring those two together. I mean, yeah, I'm excited for what we're doing here. I'm excited what we're going to come up with in the future, too, because, I can't see us not doing something again, the three of us,
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah.
Echoing what Dan said, of course, a lot of the aspects of the pandemic were terrible. And like everyone, I know people that passed because of this terrible disease. But at the same time, like, I don't think I would have ever left my day job to do comics full time. I hadn't been doing comics full time since my early mid-20s. I got into working I got into working with meat via being hired as a butcher for Whole Foods, and I kind of bounced around that industry, and you get complacent on by the time that 2018 came around, and the first inklings of talking about doing this thing, the latex crossover, I don't think I realized how much I had grown to hate my day job. And, it took a pandemic for me to realize that, because, the moment that first of all, the company didn't treat me very well, or any of its other employees very well, when the pandemic was going on. And secondly, because of some of the resources that the government created, I was able to take that time to recreate my professional life and turn that into a more successful comic book career. And I'm happier professionally than I ever been. I'm not saying that there hasn't been some hiccups. I definitely have had some problems with comicsology over the last year, not to derail, but yeah, overall I'm in a good place. And yeah, working with these two knuckleheads is been one of the great joys of the last year or so.
So Drew, like you specifically, because like I don't know Paulo's situation. I know Dan has a day job he loves, but he works really, really hard at. You do comics professionally full time now.
Yeah.
Was that like jumping off of a cliff? Like, how bad did you shit your pants? And when were you able to go like, all right, I can do this. Like, this is a comfortable thing that I can do, and I'm not scared.
Well, the thing is I was too busy being scared of COVID to be scared of the possibility of like Boar's Head didn't really give me a whole lot of choice. Like they cut back everybody's hours to nothing for 2 weeks, and then when we came back, they were only offering like 20 an hour, and it just didn't make sense for me, or 20 hours a week. And just did I'm a blue collar guy. I'm a hard worker, but like it didn't make any sense for me to stick my neck out for that.
No, not when they're going to treat you like that.
And because of some of the small business grants, and the fact that I was also able to, I won a Best of Austin award a few years ago. I was able to take that and get some.
It's got to be gratifying.
Yeah, thank you. And I was able to take that and get some city grants as well. So like, I felt more secure about that than I did, anything else, because the thing that I had, the comic once again saved my life. Like like the stuff that was like bringing in money at that point was the comic, whereas like the day job, which was the thing that I thought was going to be stable, was not. So that was like a life lesson, is like, if you're going to put your blood, sweat, and tears in anything, don't put it behind some rich guy behind a desk. If you're a working man, you work for yourself, and that's a much more satisfying thing.
Yeah, man, 2020 overall was just such a weird year professionally for so many people. So like I work in medical devices.
Oh, wow.
And I'm an idiot. I just weld shit under a microscope all day. But there would be like weeks where I would be getting paid to not work. They just paid us to sit home because they were like alternating between, like, one shop would come in and do their thing and the other shop would come in and do their thing, because they wanted to spread people out as much as possible, because nobody had a playbook for this. Like, no. And it's kind of messed up. Like, maybe we need to think about having a playbook now. Hopefully we do. But then we didn't, and we were flying by the seat of our pants. And yeah, it was weird. It was so weird. I'm so glad that you were able to utilize that and kind of turn it to your advantage. Paulo, you're an artist. You write and do other stuff as well. I assume that you have at least a little bit of income from when you go to like conventions and stuff, maybe do Artist Alley stuff. Did that kind of take a bite out of you during peak COVID time?
I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of the times when I did the conventions, I didn't really make much because I had to spend a lot on like
it's a lot of overhead.
My hotels. And so more than anything, I would always end up losing or breaking even at conventions. So when I didn't do conventions, I knew I can rely on my day job, and my day job is bus driver. So school bus driver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so my job was secured. So, and during that whole pandemic thing, we couldn't work, but because we couldn't work, they still had an obligation to pay us. So I was still getting paid while not working. So that was great. That was a load off my mind.
My wife is a public school teacher, and she's like trying to convince me to get a job at the school in some capacity, and then do work as a bus driver as well, because they get like, at least at her school, they get like a little bit extra money to drive the bus. And I used to drive cross country when I worked for a moving company. So I'd, sweat your balls off, loading a truck up, then drive it to Texas or, wherever else it needed to go. And
they pay good, but you have to deal with a lot of kids.
Oh man.
You have to deal with all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have two that, can be a handful. I can't imagine having 60 or however many fit on a school. I don't know how many a little bus can fit on a school bus. I know that it can be a bit much.
It'd be up to like 70, 72, 74.
Oh my Lord.
Something like that. Yeah. It's ridiculous. But yeah, you get a lot of patience driving a school bus.
I bet.
And a lot of that patience I go into, it kind of flows. The patience I get so much patience that gets channeled in every other aspect of my life. So
how long does it take for your hand to stop shaking for you to be able to draw in the evening when you get home?
Yeah, sometimes it's a little much, when you got high schoolers wanting to fight you on the bus for no reason other than they're just being annoyed.
The worst.
Yeah, but it teaches you patience, a lot of patience. And I take that into my drawing a lot of times. Like if I get frustrated on not being able to draw something, I don't go crazy. Like before I would go like crazy, like, oh, why am I in the rut? But now I'm like, I'll take a deep breath, like, all right, just relax, put it down for a second, do something else, and come back to it. And I feel like I can do that easier now, being a bus driver. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's so instrumental in just kind of growing as a person. just being able to separate yourself from a situation so that you can achieve balance, so that you can get beyond the situation. So did you guys ever butt heads? Dan and Drew, did you guys ever butt heads while you were co-writing this on like any particular lines or anything? Was there ever any? Give me the hot goss, guys.
I'm trying to actually think.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything that dramatic.
I did butt heads with Drew a little bit.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because I would draw Lucy, and every time I'd send it to him, he would always come back to me with, I need you to draw the boobs a little bit bigger. They're going to need to be bigger.
There's your hot
I can't draw them bigger than that.
Look, I have a problem. Okay, I know I have a problem. This is a well-documented problem, but I problems with Dan, I didn't really have, and didn't really have problems with Paul. I don't know, Dan. You look like you're what?
Yeah, no. I mean, I think I don't think we didn't have any problems for sure. You know, I mean, this is a Halloween Man book, not a Latex Avenger book. Okay, so I wanted to be real respectful to. Look, I mean, Drew's got 20 plus years invested into this book. He's been a Ringo nominee. He's done the Best of Austin, thing, and when you've got a shit heel like Latex Avenger, and I mean, because I haven't done my little shtick yet, but I mean, the elevator pitches, it's Latex Avenger and spermicidal foam lad, and together they repel crime 99.9% of the time. And when you've got such a toxic masculine character that thinks he's the world's greatest sex god / superhero to ever grace the town of Gerontopolis. Okay, when you've got this type of character, and he sees the beautiful Dr. Lucy Chaplin, what do you expect would happen? Okay, what do you think the language would look like if you had this moron in a latex uniform wearing a rubber on his head with a reservoir tip of freedom, okay, on the top? What do you think that would be like? And Lucy is such a great character because she's like alpha female, right? She's not going to put up with that shit. So the comeuppance is wonderful. And, I try to be as respectful to those characters as my characters would allow me to be, because I know my characters. I know Latex Avenger. I know Spermicidal Foam Lad. I've written these characters for a lot of years, and I don't write the characters. The characters write, the story writes itself, because I sit down and start writing, and I know what they're going to say, and it just kind of comes out of my fingers, and then afterwards I, go back and edit. But it's like, the Jamie was actually did, because Drew said she looks over scripts and whatever else. She's real respectful, respectful, protective of the Lucy character.
Is the right word.
Yeah, and with good reason. And so when it came time to hand the script over, my section of the scripts over to Drew, in turn, Jamie did read the script, and she had a few, notes for me in terms of how brash, the Latex Avenger character was communicating with Lucy. And, obviously I was happy to oblige, because again, it's not my book, it's Drew's book, you know what I mean? And so, and he works in more of a PG-13 format, so the F-bombs were out the window, again, not a big deal. I'm a good enough writer to where I can communicate that the same concept without having to get blue. You know what I mean? Or at least not 4-letter word blue. And so, that's a choice I've made in different Latex Avenger books. Some have no cussing, some have a bunch of cussing. It's just, just where I'm going that day.
Well, and
so go ahead.
The thing about the Lucy character versus Latex Avenger, like this despite the boob jokes that we were just cracking, like I consider myself like a feminist, and my wife is she runs, outside of being a successful musician, she runs a feminist nonprofit here in Austin. And the thing is about Latex Avenger's behavior in this is we are in no way trying to glamorize this guy.
Oh,
He
yeah,
is
yeah.
a jackass. Like, we're not trying to say this dude is cool.
He
like
is the joke.
Yeah, he is the joke. And, you know, Lucy Judo throws him around the room. And, you know, and if you look at, you know, again, points to Paulo, because Paulo gives great character reactions. If you look at like Halloween Man's like facial expressions with him, is like he's just, you know, Halloween Man is kind of a cantankerous guy to begin with. I always say he like owes a lot to Ben Grimm and Cliff Steele, but like he's particularly annoyed with, you know, because he's a, you know, he's a blue collar, you know, crank. He's got a good heart, even though it doesn't beat. But like he Latex Avenger, you know, is a jackass, and he rightfully gets under his skin, and that's where the comedy lies, I think.
Was it hard making those two worlds meet? Because I mean, you have Gerontopolis and Solar City, and you know, it doesn't seem like there's much that's similar between those two places.
Well, and Drew's described this before. It was like an old school crossover, you know, like, you know, hey, I'm just walking into a scene. Hey, there you are, you know, hey, let's have a thing, you know, very much like that. You know, as much as Halloween Man is steeped in the Silver Age, you know, that influence, that was the initial thing for me with Latex Avenger. Very much the original issues were very much Adam West like Batman. And, you know, and I love old Silver Age comics. So a lot of the vernacular and stuff like that would be switched up to be as goofy as you would get in 60s comics, except there was just a bunch of dick and fart jokes, but a lot of alliteration and stuff like that. So for me, actually, I did not see that much of a difference between the two books, you know, because there are so many odd characters in Halloween Man. And, you know, there's a man goat. There's the Revengers, which I still love the Revengers. You know, there's just so many amazing characters. Paulo and Drew did a story one time that had that it was Robotica. You know, this, you know, pinup robot lady, and, you know, that was an evil despot, whatever, however you pronounce that word, is a real Chaplin on. Despot. And anyway, so and Latex Avenger has a ton of strange characters. I mean, from Shazizzle the Pimpin' Wizard to Sexy Nurse America to Kosher the Pig, Manibus the Kaiju Pot Monster, to Puff Marshmallow Man. I mean, I can keep going, and it's just terribly weird concepts turned up to 11 on steroids. And so to me, I did not see that much of a difference really between the two of them, except one of them is, you know, high powered horse shit on, you know, like with, you know, and then there's Halloween Man, you know, I mean, so I just, not that I'm calling Latex Avenger horse shit, I'm just saying he's full of it, you know, and there's a lot more of a pure hero in Halloween Man, whereas Latex Avenger is far more, I'm just in this to get in the paper, you know, I just look good in the suit, you know, that kind of thing. So
well, that's the thing about Halloween Man as a character. I always say that like his universe is Garbage Man. You know, it's kind of like a thankless job, but he'll do it, you know, and it's that, you know, working class aspect of it that I think is really important to it, because, you know, Solomon is ugly, you know, he's not going to ever be the most popular superhero or anything, but he's got that heart. And I think, you know, that's the difference between the two characters, is like, maybe, you know, Halloween Man is a hedge more serious, but they have this commonality of like off the wall weirdness. And, you know, I'm going to throw the ball over to Paulo for a second, but like, you know, how did you, I'm asking a question of my own. I'm sorry, I'm hijacking this thing. How did you feel about like the meeting of like, was that weird for you, or did you think that they worked well together tonally, I guess?
First of all, I was honored to draw both of these characters completely, and because I loved both of these worlds. I thought they were hilarious and awesome. And I didn't think it was that weird of an idea when you guys first came up to me about it. But then as I read the script, I was like, yeah, this is perfect. Like it didn't seem like that far-fetched of an idea. And as I read the script, it just got better and better and better. It's just hilarious. And that's why I loved having to read the script, and like it made me want to draw it right away, because it was hilarious. And I think it works because Latex Avenger is like, it's what is it, in comedy you have a straight guy that you play the silliness off of, and that's what makes it funny. Like that's what Solomon is to Latex Avenger, and it makes the comedy just like hit so much harder because of it, I think.
So Paulo, two things.
Yeah.
One, because of your mic, I keep thinking you have a curly Q mustache, which looks very dapper. Two, was it hard to kind of marry those two styles together? Because I mean, they both have a style aesthetic to the characters. Was it hard to put them in the same place?
The only thing that I had a tough time with is that I was trying to, like with Latex Avenger, I did my own. He's sort of like a cartoon, so I drew him sort of like a cartoon, which helped me with his expressions and his overall silliness. But with Halloween Man, I knew I had to bring him down from the horror aspect just above where that cartoon level is. I had to bring him down a little bit because he is very like, I mean, I've seen Halloween Man stories where he's freaking scary. He's a scary motherfucker. And so I had to bring him down just enough to where they can meet, and it'll be realistically where they can be in the same world. But overall, I think I made it work.
That's awesome. So Dan, I'm sorry, go ahead, Drew.
I just was gonna pat Paulo on the back. I definitely think he made it work. He was very much channeling, I think, Kevin McGuire, because the facial expressions in this are like chef's kiss. Like they're so good.
And
awesome.
For folks who haven't seen Paulo's art, it is fantastic. I've seen a little bit of your stuff on the internet and maybe a cover to this comic, and it's fantastic.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
He captured the comedy so well. I mean, he really did. The expressions, the body language, the camera choices, the camera angle choices. He hit it so well. Paulo, I mean, seriously, I am proud as hell of you, dude. I mean, you did such a damn good job on this book.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Dan, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So you and I have a book called Bigfoot Knows Karate. And yeah. I mean, now you're working with this fucker Drew.
Get all cool? Comic jealous, dude. He's got comic envy.
We okay now?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, good. I just wanted to double check, make sure.
Oh, dude, come on, brother.
Still love you, man.
Oh, love you, dude. Seriously, you guys got to understand. Casey and I talk like 5 times a week. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like every afternoon, we're on the phone with each other, talking about the comic, or talking about our kids, or talking about stuff.
You hear that, Drew? You hear that, Drew? They're always talking. Can you believe this? God.
Everyone talks, but bullshit walks.
Yeah, okay, dude. Well, you know what? We're talking.
It's like therapy sometimes. It really is. And it's good, like, as far as like getting the story out. Like I'll walk my dog, and we'll go through the woods, and as my dog, takes this little stroll to make a poo, we'll talk story and get stuff done and map stuff out. It's great. It's been hot as shit lately. Oh my God. It was 107 today. So
that's not good. I'm
sure it's even worse.
Not good for anyone.
Austin.
Definitely not good for the creative process.
No. Oh, yeah. So, but yeah, what were you saying about Bigfoot?
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that we're still good.
Oh, come on, brother.
Make sure things are good. So there is like a question though, like in terms of writing with Drew, you said that most of what you did was just kind of handle dialogue for your characters. And how was that process? What did you just like, I
loved it.
Tap it in
I absolutely loved it, dude. It was such I mean, to be honest with you, was freaking easy for me. Like, I mean, Paulo had the heavy. We got like 10 minutes, just so you know. Paulo did the heavy lifting on the artwork. Drew did the heavy lifting on the story. I wrote some lines. I did a variant cover, colored Paulo's cover. Mic drop. I mean, that was the, I mean, that was my, my contribution to this. Now, obviously, I mean, we've all been talking and getting together and working on it and stuff like that, and helping out with the Indiegogo and trying to promote this thing and all of that. But like this was summer vacation, dude. This was fun. And, to see Latex Avenger back in the pages of a comic again, man, that was cool. I mean, I was hesitant about it. Drew knows. I mean, that was probably a lot of the dragging of the feet of this whole thing was, does this character who's so out of fashion in the modern lens need to be out in the universe again? We're all cancelable now, kids. So if you read the comic and you keep it in context, you'll understand what's going on. If you want to take a line out and just blow it up, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
But
and the key is to know that the joke is
the main character. That is the thing. Yeah. And I mean, you got to understand, like, it's just, I mean, like for me, the character with any sort of real head, real strong head, got his head on his shoulders, is really Spermicidal Foam Lad, which is the 12-year-old kid running around with foam throwing, guns and foam throwers. And so if you can wrap your head around that, and then the real genius of the damn group is not in this issue, but Kosher the Pig. Oh man, like that's like the Don Corleone of this whole situation. So if you can really, if you can put that all into perspective, then you understand what we're doing here. It's been a great experience. I mean, to get to work with these guys and to watch Paulo doing his work and just killing it. And Drew always delivers, always delivers. So
speaking of,
yeah.
Delivering. You guys have an Indiegogo.
Yes,
we do.
So tell me how to get to the Indiegogo when it drops, and fill me in on the information, because like I want people to go out and get this book.
So the Indiegogo starts on July 6th. It's going to run for approximately 6 weeks. We're going to be putting the link everywhere, all over our various different social medias. So it's not going to be hard to find. But if you do just want to go directly to Indiegogo, you just look up Halloween Man meets the Latex Avenger. It'll take you right to it. There is right now, because we're a few weeks away from that when we're recording this, there is a pre-sign-up sheet that you will get updates when it goes live. But we're going to have a lot of cool perks. You're going to be able to buy a lot of the old Halloween Man comics if you're not familiar with Halloween Man, but you want to be. We're going to offer up some Bigfoot Knows Karate as well, and some Latex Avenger as well, and a bunch of other cool perks, like you'll be able to be a guest star in a comic if you want. That's awesome. That is a perk I have done with every crowdfund that I have, and it's been fun. Actually, Paulo just drew some of our past backers into this very issue that we're talking about.
That's amazing.
We're also going to do a deluxe edition as well. Is that going to be the variant? Will be the deluxe, or is that how that's going to work? Okay, so yeah, we're going to do that. And originally, I was going to draw this book years ago. Okay, and so there's like 6-7 pages of this book that I drew. I had that are all done. So we're actually going to throw those in the back of the deluxe edition so people can, laugh and point and go, what was this guy thinking? But and then they'll send hate tweets, but it'll be all right, dude. We're going to do that. And, there'll be some pinups in there too. Jeremy, the artist, our good pal, is going to be doing something for this. And I'm sure we got a couple other folks who are going to do a couple things. So we'll see. It'll be a good book.
Nice. So it looks like an exciting thing. I really want everybody to go out there and get it. We will get information from you guys, and we'll just kind of be posting as the campaign goes. You said it starts July 6th.
July 6th.
Yes.
Just a couple of days after you you've been roasting hot dogs and hamburgers for
So take
freedom.
your lobster ass back inside.
Yeah.
And we'll do it
tap. Look up the campaign and get your ass an amazing comic.
And we're going to do the launch that in an evening, similar to what we do with Bigfoot Knows Karate.
Oh, cool.
We're going to do a live launch. We'll do it on Instagram, and we'll get people in the room and hanging out. And so hopefully have a good showing that night. It's going to be a good time, and really, let's make an event out of it. Let's have a party online and enjoy ourselves. And what would be cool, and I'm sorry to go into planning, but maybe the three of us can be at the same place, doing the live together that night or something like that. That could be really neat. Anyway, I'm sorry to get into all that right now, but I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a lot of fun and a hell of a comic. Great plot, great story by Drew, and Paula killed it. And April Guadiana is doing our colors, and she's incredible. Like the colors on the interiors are just outstanding, and strong crew, real strong crew.
Awesome. Well, you guys, I'm so excited for this comic and Halloween Man meets Latex Avenger. You guys, please go out and pick this up. Dan Price, Drew Edwards, Paulo J. Hernandez. You guys have been a treat. I've really enjoyed getting to meet you guys, and hopefully this is the last time we get to chat. And anytime y'all have a project that y'all want to talk about, come back to Spoiler Country because we'd love to have you.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having that, Casey.
When I actually feel terrible about, we were supposed to have an interview for Bigfoot Knows Karate on Spoiler Country, and we were so busy with doing other podcasts and shows and other stuff like that, we never got one scheduled. So this is the first time Dan's been on the show. I feel like
I know, man. I got the shank on the last campaign.
I should have just recorded one of our phone calls while I'm like,
yeah, no doubt.
Charlie, you got to poop, man. Hurry up.
Yeah, exactly.
My dog's named Charlie.
Now, Case, thanks for doing this for us, man. We really appreciate it.
Dude,
it was fun.
It was a great time talking to you, and y'all have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
And we're back. That's right. We are back. Back in the saddle again. Well, I hope you guys really, really enjoyed that as much as we did making it for you. And if you like what you heard and you want to hear more, you got to go check out spoilerverse.com, because at spoilerverse.com, we have a plethora amazing directors and artists of all walks of life, and editors and writers, and oh my God, are you a lover of comic books like we are? Then there's so many amazing people from the comic book world over at spoilerverse.com, and I highly implore you to go there and check it out.
Yeah, and while you're there, you can check out all the other podcasts on our network, like Bridges and Geekdoms and Funny Book Forensics and Haphazard Adventures and Nerds from the Crypt and so many more.
Misery
we put out
Point
episodes
Radio
all the time. Go check all of them out, and check out all of the reviews and previews and articles we have going up every single day for you, every day on spoilerverse.com for you to check out and to read and to love and to like and to comment. We have a store link. If you want to help support the site, you can do it two ways. One, go to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/spoilercountry, or go to our store link in the middle of the site there and get a t-shirt, a face mask, a hoodie, something, look fly as hell, and help support the site when you do that, because we get $1 or $2. And, maybe you want to talk to us. If you do, you can do it obviously on all the socials, but if you go to scpod.us/Discord, you can join our public Discord server and come chat with us all day long.
I couldn't say it better myself, dude.
There you go.
You just mouthed out a ton of information at once, and really, I hope you guys enjoy what you're hearing, because we're working our butts off to bring it to you.
We are.
I guess there's only one left thing. Yeah, I'm gonna go with it. There's only one left thing left to do.
What's that?
In an oceans of podcasts, we are Cthulhu. As Cthulhu compels you to
Open the mind
and read more.
Spaghetti.